What is up, friends, and welcome to From the Mind of Dick. I am your host, of course, Mr. Dick. No longer in my Kid Rock era, as you can see if you're watching on video. I cut my hair. I guess now I could be in like the Blink 182 Mark Hoppus era. I don't know. What do you guys think? But I decided to get rid of the long hair. I had it for about 8 years, 7, 8 years, something like that. It's something I really wanted to do. For the longest time, I wanted to grow my hair long, and then I'd see shows like Sons of Anarchy, and I'd be like, Jax has that awesome long hair, and I got pissed off when he cut it off. So I wanted to grow my hair long for the longest time, and I felt like I loved it. I thought it was great, and then it came to a time where I was just kind of hating it. I still liked how it looked, but all signs pointed to like it's time to cut it off. So I really contemplated it because it's like really really tough decision to do, but we had pictures that we were going to take, which I'll maybe show a preview here. Um, but we had some pictures for our wedding coming up next year, and we wanted to, make these look amazing. And we are trying to figure out what I was going to do with my hair. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll trim it and just like, we'll see. But if the wind comes up, it's going to look like crap. And I never know what to do with my hair because I kind of grew it out because I like how it looks coming out of a hat. I don't know if that is stupid. It makes sense in my head, but a lot of things make sense in my head that don't make sense in other people's heads. Well, I thought it was a great idea, and I loved it, like I said, for the longest time, but I wasn't going to wear a hat for these pictures because these were like really nice pictures that I really don't know what we're going to do with, but not yet. I mean, I know we're putting some of them on save the dates. We're going to do some of them with like our engagements. I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out, but they're amazing pictures. They came out really good. Um, and so I was like, what am I gonna do with my hair? And I've been wanting to kind of do it, but I just wasn't sure when. And then I said, okay, look, we're taking these pictures. I'm just going to do it. Surprised everybody. My fiance, she was just like, really? And everybody was surprised. I really didn't tell a lot of people that I was going to do it, but then I just, here it goes. And I got it all cut off. So if you're watching, I'm taking my hat off, and I don't know. I haven't washed it in a couple of days, so I think I've got some natural product in it, but maybe I'll leave it off for a minute. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm in my, like I said, Mark Hoppus era. I mean, that's who it reminds me of, like Blink 182. Like it's kind of sticking straight up right now. So if you're just listening, it's kind of sticking straight up and looking all crazy. But I love it. Honestly, I like how I look now. I feel like a lot of people were like, "Man, you lost like 10 years." I was like, "Oh, did I look fucking old? Did I look 80 when I had long hair?" I don't know. I'm trying not to take that as like you looked old, dude. You should, but I look at myself and I'm like, holy shit, I do look different. I look way different. So, but anyway, I love it. I think I might keep it like this for a while. Definitely for the wedding. I know for the wedding, I wanted to have like shorter hair. So I know that I'm going to keep it at least until the wedding, which will be in the end of May. And I'm just like, okay, it is what it is, man. No more long hair, no more Kid Rock. Here's the comment from that one reel. Calm down, Kid Rock. And I got called Kid Rock all the time. And it was kind of crazy. One time we went to a concert, and like 3 different times people called me Kid Rock. So I was just like, it's not a bad thing, I guess, but it's like it's not what that's not the vibe I was going for. And then a lot of people said it looked like a mullet, which it wasn't. Like I didn't like having hair on the sides, so it was kind of just a undercut, and I really kind of liked it better that way. Yeah, they called me Kid Rock and said I had a mullet, and I had one guy tell me, "Man, killer mullet, bro." I'm like, "It's not a fucking mullet," but I just say, "Thank you, thank you." I sip on my Coca-Cola, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of the hair. I dig it. So if you listen to the useless information podcast last week, we were talking about one of the things we talked about was the Haro, the Emanuel Haro for us white people. Um, the little boy, 7-month-old boy whose parents said he got kidnapped. I wanted to touch on that a little more because there's like more breaking news since we did that podcast. If you haven't checked that out, that is the Useless Information podcast that I do with my good friend Danny B from the Conference Call podcast. Please, if you've not checked out the Conference Call podcast, please go check that out because that's my dog. I asked him to be in my wedding. I want him in my wedding. That's how much I love that kid. He is someone I've known for a million years, 30 years probably, and maybe more than that. I don't know. I was trying to figure out when I met him, but it might be more than 30 years I've known this kid. Anyway, I've known the kid forever, and has become one of my best friends. So I asked him to be a groomsman in my wedding because I was like, holy shit, that's the people I want standing up there with me, not just people I've known for 30 years, but people that I still talk to that are still good friends. And that's my boy Danny B at the Conference Call podcast. So go listen to the Conference Call podcast. Okay, let's get into it. So like I said, we talked about Emanuel Haro, little boy. And we talked about how like the parents they were saying that he got kidnapped. Basically, if you don't know the story, you're probably living under a rock. The mother said that she got hit or something like that. And someone said, hola, okay, and hit her upside the head, okay. And when she came to, her son was gone. And they said all this stuff. Come to find out that after all the research they've done and everything like that, that didn't happen. That shit did not happen. And I knew it from the beginning, but there's some things I wanted to talk about when it comes to that. Like, this dude's a piece of shit. What's his name? Eric Haro. That dude's a piece of shit. Okay. And he already did this to one of his kids. He already got convicted of, I guess it's like neglect of his child, or like basically beating his child. And his child is still alive, and she's in a wheelchair, and she is basically disabled for the rest of her life because of the injuries sustained by this motherfucker. Okay. He ruined her life. Okay. And the judge should have given him prison time. The judge gave him fucking probation. The judge gave him probation and community service instead of putting this motherfucker in prison where he belonged. Okay. This dude belonged to be in prison so he could get butt raped. I'm sorry I said it. I'm not sorry. That's where this dude belonged. Now he's going to go there, but now another child's life is gone because of this motherfucker. And this is what happened. And I'm just allegedly, right? But I'm telling you what happened. This guy beats his children. He has kids. The other kid that I guess she was going to the mom was going to get a mouth guard for her other kid. I don't remember, but that's her kid. That's not his kid. And they have a kid together, which is Emanuel. And this kid was severely beaten by his father. And the father said, oh, he told the police, like, oh, I rolled over on him and he passed. So we got rid of the body and tried to cover it up. He then went to prison, and they put a plant in there. They put undercover as someone in prison as his cellmate. And he told his cellmate, who was undercover, that he actually beat the kid to death, and they threw him in a trash bag. That's what happened. And the mom is even more of a piece of shit because she didn't fucking just go to the cop and say, this motherfucker killed my kid. She tried to cover it up. That piece of shit was more important to her than her child. She deserves just as much prison time as him. And I cannot believe that you could look at your kid and think that, darn, my kid's dead. Let me throw him in a fucking garbage can. Right? Like, these people are sick. These people are there's something fucking not right with them. And him, maybe he was abused. I don't know his whole story. Maybe he was abused. Maybe he had some mental issues. I mean, obviously he has mental issues, but there's something wrong with this dude. Okay. Where he thinks that, oh, maybe if his kid cries or if his kid does something wrong, he could beat the shit out of that kid. And he thinks that's okay. Or maybe his mind just snaps and he can't control himself. And then he beats an innocent 7-month-old child. And he decides that that's okay for him to do. Like, this bullshit, dude. Like, and I just get sick thinking about it. I don't want to talk much more about it. I just want to talk a little bit more about the breaking news. And then I just want to talk about, like, parenting in general, right? Like, I'm not the best father. Like, I feel like I've always been a good father. I had problems with alcohol. I had problems with, like, maybe not being the best partner or husband. And it might have affected the kids in certain ways. And I've made decisions that might have not been best in hindsight for my kids, but all in all together, I've been a really good father. And my kids have always been well adjusted. Like, they really haven't had, all kids have problems. Teenagers have problems. That's always going to happen, But all in all, I think my kids are really great kids, and I try to show as much love as possible to my kids. And I could never imagine. There's times where like I got super frustrated with my baby not stopping the crying, but I would never once think to like shake the baby or beat the baby or do anything like that. That never crossed my mind. And this guy, just an innocent child, just beat the shit out of him. His daughter from his previous marriage, the one that's in the wheelchair and stuff, when she was a baby and they inspected her, he didn't kill her, but when they inspected everything, and she had healed injuries, healed bones, things that have healed, which means she was going through this and suffering as a baby with no painkillers, nothing like that. It means he beat her, broke her bones, broke her ribs, broke her arm, broke her legs, whatever it was. And she had to sit there and heal after he did this. And he didn't get prison time because this judge, for some reason, decided not to give him prison time. How is that probation? You're going to beat the shit out of your kid where your kid almost dies. You ruined your kid's life. Your kid's now mentally disabled and physically disabled because of you beating him. And he's on the street able to go get with this other girl. And this girl was like, "Oh, cool. You're the man I want. I want to have a kid with you. Oh, you beat your daughter, so now she's in a wheelchair and can't speak and can barely feed herself? And you did that to her. That's the kind of man yeah. You're hot. You're dreamy. I want to marry you." And that's what this lady was thinking. It's just, I don't even know what else to say, guys. It just like hurts me that someone could be that way. But I hope this guy burns, dude. Seriously. I mean, he's already going to hell, but I just hope they give him the maximum possible sentence they could give him. More updates on the Uses Information podcast next week. We'll talk about it again. And that's pretty much all I got on that. I just wanted to give a little update of how I feel about it. And it kind of brings me to like the job of a man, the job of a husband. Not one of the jobs. Let's put this. This is one thing I'm talking about. One of the jobs of a husband and a father is to protect your wife and your significant other, your wife, your kids. You're a protector. Now, you could fight me on like gender roles and anything like that. This is how I feel about it, right? I'm old school, like, you know, Gen X. I feel like the man is the protector. And I don't know if you guys have seen this other video of this this woman. She got jumped by like 5 other women, right? And they started beating the shit out of her. And then the husband comes in and lays out all these women and protects his wife. And the internet's going crazy about this shit, right? Saying a man should never hit a woman. A man should not be putting his hands on a woman, you know, which is true. A man should never put his hands on a woman unless that woman is laying hands on your child or your wife. And if that woman is doing something like that to your family, that man has every right to beat the shit out of that woman. I'm sorry. And that's how I feel about it. And this man had every right because he is the protector of the family. I'm telling you right now, if my kids or my fiance, future wife, my mom, my sister, my family, my fiance's mom, my fiance's sister, those are my family. If anybody is laying hands on them, they better watch the fuck out because they got to deal with me. I don't care if it's another woman, I will beat the shit out of her. You do not lay hands on my family. So that guy did the right thing in my eyes. You do not, I'm a protector of my family. That is my role. Okay? That is my role as a man. And for this dude to be putting hands on his own child, that dude is a piece of shit. He is not a protector. He is not. He needs to protect that child. And he beat his child so severely that the child did not make it. And now there's things that I've heard that where it was either this, usually a last beating that that Emanuel succumbed to, or it was previous ones that eventually he succumbed to it, and then they realized that this is what happened. But either way, this dude does not deserve life. He deserves to suffer in prison. And I hope when he goes there, they find out what he did and who he is, and they make him suffer. Because you're a man, bro. You need to be a protector. You need to protect your family. That's what your role is as a man. And that's what this guy did. It heats me up, and I don't get mad. Like, I don't have a temper for the most part. And it heats me up when I think about this. When I think about anybody putting their hands on a child, whether it's a predator or whether it's this guy, someone like this guy who beats his children so severely that this is what he does. It hits me, right? But I'm the protector of my family. And if my family, something's going on with my family, no matter what it is, I'm going to protect my family. And for this guy to be this, to do this to his child, okay, I can't anymore. But like I said, next week we'll probably talk about more. I want to talk about it more with Danny because he thinks the same way as I do when it comes to like how we are as men, like we talked about like gender pay gaps and stuff like that. And like, we've talked about it on previous episodes because I believe like when it comes to like a gender pay gap, I mean, I don't believe that it exists, but I believe that there's a reason why when you add all those numbers up, that gender pay gap can seem like it exists. But women were designed by God to be the nurturers and the teachers, right? And they go into those roles in the workforce as teachers and daycare, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know, like they go into more of those roles, right? But if you look at a business and you say, the CEO of this business, okay, is a man, that man steps down and a woman takes over. Now, is that woman making 77 cents to the dollar, man? No, that woman is making that same pay, gets the same bonuses, does the same work. Okay. If a woman decided to go into construction, which is a predominantly male thing, right? If a woman decided to go into that, she would make the same pay. She wouldn't be paid less because she's a woman. And if she could put in the same effort and put in the same work and do that job, she would move up and she would make money. She would make the same money. Okay. But women go into jobs that pay less. It's simple as that. Women go into jobs that pay less. Men go into jobs that are more risky that pay more. Look at the police department. Does a woman make less in the police department than a man when they do the same job? No. There's tons of women police officers, and they all make the same wage because that's the wage of a police officer. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. They make the same pay. Now, the gender pay gap is where they took all the jobs and said, oh, all the jobs women and blah, 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 add these numbers up. And now it looks like they make less. But the jobs they do, the time off they take, the amount of hours a man works, that's where it looks like a gap. But my point of all this, I do have a point. When I talk a lot, I start feeling it in my throat and I'm like, I have to have a drink of something. Maybe years of screaming heavy music has affected my vocal cords. I don't know. But I digress. My point here is men are designed to be the providers and the protectors. Okay. And that's technically our role put on us by God. That's why men are physically stronger. That's why there's women's sports. That's why there's men's sports, because men are physically stronger. Women, for the most part, I'm not saying all women, I'm saying for the most part, women can't compete with a man. I mean, I thought of this after we did the podcast. There would have been something to think about with the podcast. But this is an example. Okay. I want you to, if women want to get paid the same in the WNBA, for example, they want to get paid the same as the men. Let's take the lowest paid NBA player, male, and put him on a team with the WNBA players. The worst, so basically the worst NBA player. He's a good player because he's in the NBA. But I'm saying the lowest paid, worst player in the NBA go against an all-star team of the women in the WNBA. That dude will score 200 points against those women right now. Let's do it. He can be on a team with them. And on that team, he could be on a team with some of the worst players in the WNBA against an all-star team of Caitlin Clark and Felicia. I don't know her name. Be on a team with those people, with those women, and they're elite players in their sport. And that man will score 400 points. No doubt in my mind. That's why it's different, because the man is stronger, and that's what we were designed to be by God. Simple as that. I heard a joke where they said, like, if LeBron James decided to be transgender and play on the WNBA, he would score 200 points a game. And that's why there's a WNBA and an NBA. But the WNBA is just not as exciting. But these women are amazing athletes. They can't do the things that men can do. How many dunks do you see in a WNBA game? Not saying they can't do it. How many alley-oops do you see? How many exciting plays like that? Half the time they miss every shot they shoot. That's why Caitlin Clark's so good, because she doesn't fucking miss. And she's shooting from NBA, because she shoots way past the WNBA three-point line. She's out there shooting past NBA three-point lines, you know? But she would not be able to hold her own against the men. It wouldn't happen. And I do agree, and I was trying to tell jokes, trying to be funny on the podcast with Danny, but I do agree with them getting an equal percentage of revenue that they bring in. And like I said, they only bring in 200 million, where the NBA brings in 10 to 12 billion. Okay. And the percentage of revenue for the average players is higher for the NBA than it is for the WNBA. I don't know if that makes sense. It's hard for me to articulate what I'm trying to say. Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, if you know what I mean. But that's what I'm trying to say. I do agree with, they need to make, like, the highest paid players, like the better players, need to make a better revenue, a better percentage of revenue. But if one of the guys in the NBA decided to be transgender and say, I want to play on the WNBA, he would score 200 points a fucking game. And it's simple as that. There's no doubt in my mind. Speaking of transgenders, I just wanted to touch on this last thing before I end this, because it's kind of a theme with what I'm kind of talking about here. I wanted to touch on this last topic. As you guys probably know, in Minneapolis, there was a shooter who went into like a Catholic school or something like that. I just barely saw this today. So honestly, like I don't know a lot about it, but I wanted to bring it up. I don't really know a lot about the details, and I don't fucking want to know. But I just wanted to touch on this subject just really quick before I end this podcast. But he was transgender. She was transgender. I'll be PC. He was 23 years old. Positioned in 2019 as a minor. Changed his name to her name, from Robert to Robin in 2019 as a minor, and the mother signed it. Okay. I don't agree with that. What I think about when it comes to like transitioning, and that's what I wanted to touch on, you can do whatever you want. I don't care, when you're an adult. Okay. And I don't care if you want to just start wearing a dress and calling yourself a woman when you're under 18. Do what you want to do. I don't care. I, as a father, would try to tell my kid, look, man, like, I'll accept you for whoever you are, but you need to wait till your brain's fully developed, because a kid doesn't know what they want. If your kid at 4 years old, 5 years old, decided to say, hey, I'm a cat. And there's kids that do this. Yes, there's high schools that actually had litter boxes in their bathrooms to accommodate the furries. But my point is, if your kid said, I'm a cat and I want to identify as a cat, would they be jumping all nimbly bimbly from tree to tree? Would you let them drink milk out of a saucer? Would you see them chasing mice? Can you tell me that, meow? If they decided to be a cat, are they a cat? If they decided to be a horse, are you going to put them in the barn and let them eat the hay out there? So you're a horse. So that's the point, is like, a kid doesn't know. By the time you're maybe 15, 16, 17, you probably are starting to realize that may be what you want, and that's okay. But there should be no medical, let me stress that, medical transitions until your brain is fully developed. At 18, you're an adult, so technically you can do whatever you want. But what I'm saying is, it should be 25, and then it should be legal, and then do what you want. I don't give a shit. I don't care about transgenders. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. Like, it's just not like it's even on my, like, I can tell. Everybody can tell. There are some that you can't tell, but most part you can tell, but who cares? I mean, I think that if you look like Rocky Dennis from the movie Mask, you're not going to look like a girl. That's just me, but I don't know. I just think that mentally you're not well in that sense. That's why they're like every shooting, it's like the last few school shootings have been someone transgender who hated Trump. It's all a trend. It's all like, and I feel like it's all like this because they're trying to take away guns. Okay. But if they take away guns, how are we going to defend ourselves at our schools against the transgenders that are trying to kill our kids? Because this is what's happening. Like they're mentally not well. Okay. And I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying for the most part. Because why or why is this happening? And why is the suicide rate after transitioning so high? Shouldn't you be happier? Because I feel like the suicide rate is higher after they transition. So I think it's something that before you transition, I feel like you should have some kind of mental check. And then if that's the case, then do it. Who cares? There's a lot of people who have transitioned that are living their best life. And I love that. I love that for everybody. But it's a problem right now, and it's becoming a trend where if you're just like mentally not stable, you're going to say, well, I'm transgender so that I can get more attention. Or if you're not getting the attention from people that you want, maybe your parents, maybe people at school, whatever, you're not getting the attention. This is a way to get attention. And there are some people who legit feel like they're in the wrong damn body. And I get that. That's fine. You know, I feel like I should be in like Arnold Schwarzenegger's body, and that would be great. I would love that. Right. But I can't do that. Maybe I can pump some of that gel or whatever it is, like the oil into my biceps so that I can just make my own muscles and then I can have that body. I guess that's the equivalent to like transitioning. I don't know. I say, and I'll end with this. I say love yourself how you are. Even if you feel like you're in the wrong body, you should just love yourself. And that's the problem, is people don't love themselves enough. And I feel like even if you feel like, hey, I'm a man, but I feel like I should be a girl, right? That's fine. Wear dresses, just be a man. I know plenty of females that cut their hair short, get tattoos, dress like a man, all men's clothes, but they still say they're female. And they're dope as fuck. But they're not saying, oh, I'm a female. Or I'm a male now. You have to call me a male. No, they're like, I'm a girl, but like this is how I like to dress. What's wrong with that? That's dope as fuck. You know, if there's a guy that likes wearing makeup, I know a guy that has hair basically like how I have my hair, but he wears makeup all the time and wears suits, but puts makeup on. But he says, I'm a guy. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But there's also nothing wrong with living your best life and being and transitioning into what you want. But I feel like you should just love yourself the way you are. You should love yourself for who you are and how you were born. It's taken me a long time to realize that for myself, because I've always felt not good enough and I've always wanted to be different. I've always wanted to be better. And I am who I am, and I'm always going to be me unapologetically. And I feel like that's what people who are maybe have gender dysphoria or have like any kind of problem like that, you need to learn you need to learn that part, whether it's with a therapist or just learning how to love yourself before you decide to transition. If you still feel like that's the thing you need to do, then that's fine, then do it. But you need to be an adult. These transitioning kids is not, in my opinion, is not okay. It's not okay. This is a pretty deep podcast, and I had no clue what I was going to talk about. I wrote down a couple notes as I was scrolling Instagram. I was like, yeah, I'll talk about some of this stuff. But in my head, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to try. But kind of became a pretty deep podcast. But I hope you guys still love me after everything I've said. I'm not a bigot. I'm not that guy. I just have opinions. If I met someone that was transgender, would I treat them any different? No, I would not treat them any different. I treat everybody based on the content of their character, how they treat me and how they are as a person. If you're an asshole, I don't give a fuck if you're a chick with a dick. I don't give a fuck. If you're an asshole, fuck you. I could care fucking less the color of your skin, what language you speak. I don't give a fuck about any of that. If you're an asshole, you're a fucking asshole. Leave me the fuck alone. If you're a nice person, I'm going to give you a hug. I don't give a shit. Okay? Simple as that. That's how I am. So everybody should be. This world will be a better place. Just love everyone and talk shit behind their back, but love them to their face. That's a total joke. Anyway, my 30 minutes is up. I try to keep these podcasts are just 30 minutes. Just so everyone knows, I love you. And if you're ever down, if you're ever going through it, I'm always available. Call me up, talk to me. Got lots of friends who didn't, and unfortunately, some aren't with us anymore. Some have gone through so much. So I tell all my friends, please, if you are ever going through it, first thing I want you to know is you got this. You can handle it. I promise you, you can handle it. And if you feel like you can't, my phone is always on. My Instagram, hit me up. My Facebook, hit me up. Okay. I love you guys. That's it for me. Peace.